Have you ever felt the weight of a weapon in your hand, long after the war is over? It is a strange and familiar ache. A ghost in the muscles. The war may be a memory, an argument from last week, a betrayal from a decade ago, a wound from childhood you thought had scarred over. But the weapon remains. It is the anger you carry, the resentment you sharpen in the quiet hours. It is the part of you that is always ready for a fight that never comes, or a fight you keep recreating in your mind. Let us give this a name. Let us call it the empty sword. It is the burden of the warrior without a war. And the promise of our time together today is this. We will learn how to put it down. We will explore a philosophy so profound it can turn a vengeful killer into a founder of nations. A way to discover a strength so immense, it has no need for a blade. Phase 2. The problem, visual shift to close-ups of a character's face, etched with worry and exhaustion. Rain streaks down a wooden wall. A hand clenches into a fist, then slowly relaxes. You carry it with you, don't you? That old anger. That sense of justice denied. It feels like a part of your identity. A bitter proof that you were wrong, that you were right. You run the old conversations over and over in your head, but this time, you have the perfect response. You see the look on their face as you finally land the verbal blow you couldn't find in the moment. You win. Again, and again, and again. And with every imaginary victory, you feel a little more hollow. A little more alone. The anger becomes a lens through which you see the world. It's a strange kind of comfort, this pain. It's a fire that keeps you warm in the cold, but you fail to notice that it is your own house you are burning for fuel. Think of a time you were slighted at work. A colleague took credit for your idea, or a boss spoke to you with casual disrespect. The incident was small, a passing moment. But for days, maybe weeks, it lived in your mind. You felt the surge of adrenaline every time you saw them. You imagined confronting them. You complained to others, seeking validation, feeding the flame. Your focus fractured. Your peace was stolen. Not by them, but by your own refusal to let the moment die. That is the nature of the empty sword. It promises power, but it only ever takes. And here is the hidden cost, the quiet tragedy of it all. While your hands are clenched around the hilt of this imaginary weapon, they are not free. They cannot build. They cannot comfort. They cannot hold on to anything new. You are so busy guarding the ghosts of the past that you cannot cultivate the possibilities of the present. The world offers you seeds, soil, and sunlight, but all you have is a hammer. And to a man with only a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Every interaction becomes a potential fight. Every person, a potential foe. You are a sentry, standing watch over an empty field, while life itself is happening just over the horizon. Phase 3. The solution. Visuals shift to the world of Vinland Saga. We see a young, hate-filled Thorfin, screaming. Then, a sharp cut to an older Thorfin, empty-eyed, a slave. Finally, we see him standing, resolute and calm, on the shores of a new land. To understand the way out, we must turn to a boy who carried the heaviest sword of all. A boy named Thorfin, son of Thors. His entire youth was fuel for the fire of revenge against a man named Askeladd, the mercenary who killed his father. For a decade, that sword was his only purpose. His hatred was his only identity. And when that purpose was stolen from him, when another man's blade killed Askeladd, Thorfin was left with nothing. He became a shell. An empty man sold into slavery. It was there, in the silence and the soil of a Danish farm, that he began to hear the echo of his father's words. A philosophy he had been too deafened by rage to understand. A single, profound sentence. A true warrior needs no sword. This is not a call to pacifism born of weakness. It is the ultimate expression of strength. It is a fundamental shift in the definition of power. The philosophy asserts that true strength is not the power to destroy an enemy, but the power to build a future. It is not the ability to inflict violence, but the courage to absorb it and end the cycle. Let's break this down into its core principles. First, is the principle of the emptiness of revenge. Visuals. Askeladd dying in Thorfinn's arms. Thorfinn's subsequent breakdown and despair. Thorfinn believed that killing Askeladd would bring him peace. It was the entire architecture of his life. But revenge is a mirage in the desert of our pain. It promises a cool drink of satisfaction, but delivers only a mouthful of sand. When you dedicate your life to destroying another, you chain yourself to them. Your existence becomes a reaction to theirs. Their shadow dictates your every move. When Askeladd died, Thorfin wasn't freed. His chain was simply attached to a corpse, and he was left to drag it through the rest of his life. Revenge does not heal a wound. It only deepens it, by making the source of your pain the center of your universe. Second, is the principle of atonement through labor. Visuals. Thorfin and Einar toiling in the fields. The slow, arduous process of clearing rocks, tilling soil, planting seeds. Sweat on their brows, exhaustion in their bodies, but a nascent purpose in their eyes. In the depths of his despair, Thorfin found his path back to humanity not through meditation or intellectual insight, but through work. Hard, physical, meaningful work. He and his friend Einar were tasked with clearing a forest to create a field of wheat. Every tree they felled, every rock they moved, was an act of creation. They were not destroying, they were building. This is the key. Peace is not a state you find, it is a structure you build. Day by day, with your own two hands. Purposeful labor focuses the mind. It channels the body's aggressive energies, the same energies that fuel rage and violence, into a constructive, life-affirming act. When your hands are calloused from building a home, they are less inclined to form a fist. When you have seen a seed you planted grow into food that sustains life, the act of taking life becomes abhorrent. Thorfin didn't think his way to a new life, he worked his way there. He atoned for his past not with words of apology, but with acres of wheat. And the third, most difficult principle, the strength of non-violence. Years later, a free man, Thorfin must prove his commitment to building a new, peaceful land. He does this by accepting a challenge. He must withstand 100 punches from a hardened Viking without fighting back. This is the crucible of his new philosophy. This is not weakness. It is the highest form of discipline. It takes more strength to stand your ground and take a blow for a cause you believe in than it does to lash out in anger. To react with violence is an instinct. It is an animal impulse. To absorb that violence, to hold to your principles in the face of pain, to choose a different path, that is the act of a human being. It is the conscious choice to break the cycle. Violence begets violence. Retribution begets retribution. The only way to stop the wheel from turning is for someone to have the courage to stand still and let it pass over them. Think of it this way. A warrior with a sword is like a farmer who only owns an axe. He can fell trees, he can split logs, he can defend his land. But he cannot cultivate it. He cannot plow a field, plant a seed, or harvest a crop. His tool is for subtraction only. But the true warrior, the one who has laid down his sword, has his hands free. He can pick up a plow, a shovel, a watering can. He can build a fence, or mend a roof, or cradle a newborn child. His strength is not measured by what he can destroy, but by what he can create. He is not a master of a single tool of death, but a student of all the tools of life. That is the final philosophy of Vinland Saga. To become so strong, so dedicated to what you are building, that you have no need for a sword at all. Phase 4. The application. This philosophy is not some distant Viking legend. It is a practical guide for navigating the battlefields of our own lives. The principles are timeless because the human heart that wages these wars has not changed. So, how do we begin to lay down our own empty sword? How do we apply this in a world of deadlines, arguments, and social media? Here is a practical, 4-step guide. Step 1. Identify your empty sword. You cannot put down a weapon you do not realize you are carrying. Take out a piece of paper, or open a new document. And ask yourself this question, with unflinching honesty. What old anger am I still carrying? What past hurt defines my present reactions? Be specific. Don't just write, my ex, or my old boss. Write down the specific event. The words that were said. The thing that was done. Name the person. Name the failure. Name the insult that still has a hold on you. This is not about blame. It is about awareness. This is the act of looking down and finally, truly, seeing the sword in your hand. Acknowledge its weight. Feel how it has tired your arm. Step 2. Find your farmland. Visual. A montage of people engaged in focused, tangible activities. A potter at a wheel, a coder staring at lines of code, a musician practicing scales, a volunteer serving food at a shelter. Thorfinn had his wheat field. You must find yours. This is your atonement through labor. It is the act of channeling your restless, aggressive energy into creation. Find a task, a project, a craft that requires your full, focused attention and produces a tangible result. It does not have to be grand. It could be learning to bake bread, tending to a small garden on your windowsill, learning to play a single song on the guitar, fixing that broken chair in the garage, writing 1,000 words of a story. The act itself is a meditation. The physical engagement pulls you out of the toxic feedback loop of your own thoughts. It grounds you in the present reality. When you are fully absorbed in sanding a piece of wood, or kneading dough, or weeding a garden bed, there is no room for replaying old arguments. You are replacing the phantom act of destruction with the real, satisfying act of creation. You are teaching your body and your mind a new purpose. Step 3. Practice the 100 punches technique. Visual. A person in a tense meeting. Someone says something provocative. Instead of reacting, the person takes a slow, deliberate breath. Their expression remains calm and composed. Thorfinn endured 100 physical blows. Your challenge is to endure the daily barrage of small, emotional, and psychological blows without immediate retaliation. The next time you feel provoked by an email, a comment, a passive-aggressive remark, do not react instantly. That is the animal instinct. Instead, practice the art of the strategic pause. Take one deep breath. In that single moment of stillness, you create a space between the stimulus and your response. In that space, ask yourself one question. Does this require a sword? 99 times out of 100, the answer will be no. The world will not end if you don't send that scathing reply immediately. Your honor will not be shattered if you let a thoughtless comment pass without a fight. This is your training. Each time you choose the pause over the punch, you are strengthening a new muscle. You are learning to absorb the impact without breaking, to hold your ground without drawing your blade. You are breaking the cycle. Step 4. Define your Vinland. Visual. A person looks out over a city at dawn, or a beautiful natural landscape. A look of hope and vision on their face. A warrior does not lay down his sword just to stand in an empty field. He does it so his hands are free to build his home. Thorfinn and his people were not just running from the violence of the old world. They were sailing towards the dream of a new one. Vinland. A land of peace, a land without war and slavery. You need your Vinland. What is the positive, compelling vision for your life that peace will allow you to build? Is it a loving, stable family? Is it a body of creative work you can be proud of? Is it a mind free from the poison of resentment? Is it a community you can contribute to? Write it down. Be as vivid as possible. This is your North Star. When the temptation to pick up your old sword is strong, when the anger feels righteous and justified, you look to your Vinland. You remind yourself what you are fighting for, not just what you are fighting against. A true warrior is defined not by the enemy he hates, but by the world he is trying to build. Phase 5. The proof. Visuals return to epic, painterly shots from Vinland Saga. Thorfinn facing down armies, not with a weapon, but with his presence. Does this philosophy actually work? Or is it merely a beautiful fantasy, destined to be crushed by the harsh realities of the world? The story of Thorfinn provides the proof. His greatest victories are won not with steel, but with spirit. When he confronts a young, bloodthirsty warrior named Garm, a perfect mirror of his younger self, he defeats him not by killing him, but by disarming him and showing him the utter emptiness of his violent path. He wins the fight by refusing to fight on his opponent's terms. He changes the very nature of the conflict. His ultimate test comes when he stands before King Canute, a man with the power to wage endless war. To protect his fledgling settlement in Vinland and prevent a battle, Thorfinn does not draw a dagger. He makes an offer. He offers his own life. He stands, unarmed and unwavering, and his sheer conviction, his commitment to a world without swords, is what ultimately sways the king. He saves hundreds of lives, not by taking one, but by being willing to give his own. He proves that a man with a powerful enough dream is more formidable than any army. This is not just the stuff of manga and anime. History echoes this truth. Think of the Salt March led by Mahatma Gandhi. A 240-mile walk to the sea, a simple act of defiance against the might of the British Empire. It was an army with no weapons, whose strength lay in its moral certainty and its capacity to endure suffering. Think of the words of the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, Marcus Aurelius, who wrote in his private meditations nearly 2,000 years ago, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." He understood that to answer hate with hate is to become the very thing you despise. The only true victory is to rise above it. The logic is inescapable. A cycle of violence is, by its very definition, a circle. It has no end. An eye for an eye, a sword for a sword, a war for a war. The only way to break a circle is to introduce a straight line. The refusal to retaliate is that line. It is not passivity. It is a profound, strategic, and courageous act. It is the decision to stop playing a game you can never truly win, and to start building a world where that game is no longer necessary. Phase 6. The call to action. Visuals soften. A campfire crackles under a starlit sky. The narrator's voice is intimate, speaking directly to the viewer. Thorfinn's journey teaches us that the heaviest things we carry are not weapons of steel, but the burdens of our own hearts. And the most fertile ground for a new life is the land we clear of our old hatreds. The path is not easy. It is a daily practice. It is a lifetime of work. But it is the only work that leads to true peace. So now, I have a question for you. I want you to go down to the comment section, and reflect with the rest of us here. Answer this. What is the empty sword you've been carrying, and what is the farmland you could cultivate if you chose to lay it down? There is no judgment here. Only the shared struggle of flawed human beings, trying to build something better. If these are the kinds of journeys that speak to your soul, the kinds of questions you are asking yourself in the quiet hours, then join our settlement. Subscribe to the Farmland Preacher, and let's walk this path together. Thorfinn's journey from vengeance to peace was long and arduous. To truly understand the psychological prison he had to escape, you first need to understand the mind of the man who built it. To see the cage, you must know the architect. Watch our deep dive into the complex and tragic philosophy of Askeladd next. The video is right here. A thumbnail for the recommended video appears on screen. The video ends on a final, lingering shot of a vast, peaceful, and empty field at sunrise, waiting to be planted.